In this video, we're going to break down the 7 components of becoming a masterful coach and attracting a lot of paying clients. How to be a masterful coach. Do you have the answer?
No.
A lot of Pepto-Bismol. That's what helps. This episode brought to you by Pepto-Bismol. How do you be a masterful coach? You be a masterful coach by being full of mastery. So we're going to break down the 7 elements of mastery here. And with each one of the elements, we're going to talk about what it is and any distinctions that we think are important. And then most importantly, tell you how to achieve each one of these elements. So all of these components are benefits of learning in a masterful way with mastery level focus, but they're also elements of being a masterful coach. So that's how they feed off of each other. And I think in today's world, I don't know that I've had this thought till just now, because of so many of the disruptions that we've experienced over the last however many months and a couple of years. I think people's demand for mastery is on the way up a little bit. The reason I say that is because I think people don't trust what they see online as much as they did. Marketing has convoluted all kinds of stuff, especially in the coaching industry. And so what causes people to trust, I think at an unconscious level, is a little bit more of an increased perception of competence and mastery. So when you commit to mastery level learning, you're going to be increasing your perceived value as well as your real value. And these 7 components, rather, these 11 elements, 7 elements. I'm combining 7 and elements, and I'm getting 7 elephants. These 7 elements is what you get. So the first one is confidence. Confidence is something that I think a lot of people misunderstand. I think a lot of people are searching for confidence in areas that it doesn't exist and not seeking confidence in areas that it does exist. I think some people misunderstand the need for confidence, and some people overestimate the need for confidence. Confidence is essentially your how would you define confidence? I'm trying to define it, but without using the word confidence, because I was about to say it's your confidence in your skills.
Yeah. That's a good question. I think it's my knowing that I have the ability to do something, right? Like if I know that I can do something, then I'm confident.
Got it. And so the key word there is do. Confidence is really about how you relate to and how you feel about and how much you trust your skills of doing. Most people don't have a confidence problem as much as they have a self-esteem problem, but they call it confidence. And that's a problem because you're not labeling it correctly. If you increase your skills, but you have a self-esteem problem, an increase of skills actually doesn't help the self-esteem problem, which is how you feel about yourself, your worth as a human being. Those two things are different, but most of us are trying to mask or overcompensate a self-esteem problem with more confidence in the doing. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people just are kind of floundering around, and they're getting better and better from a skill set standpoint, but they still have the same fear of visibility because the fear of visibility isn't actually based on your skills. So when it comes to coaching, there's this confidence almost motto, I guess we could call it, this phrase that you are essentially positioning yourself with as a coach. And that phrase is, I can help you. If you're going to hire me as a coach, it's because I can help you do something. So when you have the guts and the courage to say, I can help you, there's a lot that goes into that phrase. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of us really struggle. A lot of coaches, especially early on, really struggle is because they can't confidently say, I can help you. And if we break down that phrase, there's 3 distinct elements of that phrase. The first one is I. So you've got to have confidence in your skill set. You've got to have confidence in your delivery of the information. You as the coach, you as the facilitator, you have to have confidence in your ability to do the work. The second part is can help, which means I can help you transform. I can help you feel better. I can help you heal. I can help you dissolve this feeling that you don't want to have anymore. So that means you've got to have confidence in the work. You got to have confidence in the content of the coaching, the methodology of the coaching. That if you say, I can help you transform your life, you have tools that can actually help people transform their lives. If you don't have confidence in the tools or don't have confidence in the person that's using the tools, they'll feel it and they'll smell it and your energy will actually repel people. And then the third piece of that statement is you. So you've got to have confidence that you know who it is that you're talking to, who it is that you are wanting to serve. And this is an area that a lot of people brush over, or they just don't see enough value in the clarity necessary in saying, I am confident that I know you. And in order for somebody to trust you, especially nowadays, they have to not know you, but they have to know that you know them. So just to be real clear on that, if I'm going to hire you as a coach, I don't need to know you. I need to know that you know me. And it's getting more and more important that clients, prospects know that you know them than it ever was in the past. So that requires you to actually spend time and energy and focus on getting to know who your client is. Now, most people won't do that. Most people get caught up in my stuff can help everybody, or I don't want to focus on one thing and I can do all these other things at the same time. And I'm just telling you, with 17 years of experience and all the people that I've ever talked to on this topic, maybe not everybody that I've ever talked to, but the successful people that I've talked to, they value the critical clarity in you knowing who your client is. And if you think about coaching as just a normal business, right? If we say coaching is the product, but what are one of the elements of a traditional business? If you have a product, let's say you're going to sell these pens, you need to know who you're selling this pen to. There is no successful business that doesn't know who their customer is, because knowing their customer is going to determine whether they run an ad in a magazine or on the Super Bowl or do everything online or they create an infomercial. If you don't know who your customer is and you're in a traditional business, you will not have a successful business. There's no such thing as selling a product to everybody.
Right.
So it's quite interesting to me that in the coaching arena, we question something that nobody questions in the business arena. And yet we want to build a coaching business. It's like, oh, okay, all you guys that build all these crazy, powerful businesses, you have to know what your product is. But because I'm a coach and I want to help people, I don't have to know what my product is. And that's one of the big disservices I think that the industry has allowed people to believe is possible, that you can build a business not knowing who your prospect is. That's not possible. Now, that doesn't mean that eventually you can't have multiple prospects. You absolutely can. But I've yet met anybody who isn't clear on these three things and successful. I haven't met that person. I don't know if it's possible. Maybe somebody's done it out there, but I haven't met that person. So in my experience, clarity in these three elements and confidence in these three elements it's a showstopper. Because if you don't have confidence in I can help you, then your message and your energy is going to repel people. And speaking of finding a niche market, we have a playlist that we'll put a card to. We'll probably link down in the description of multiple videos that can help you identify, clarify, focus on your niche as a client, or as a coach rather, and where your clients are. What do you want to add?
But the confidence piece is so critical, because in the times that I have hired coaches, right, it's been because I wanted them to help me with something, help me feel something, to help me create something, because it's not something that I have confidence in. So it's really critical for us as the coach to be able, inside of this, like really being full of mastery. I love how you use that to define becoming a masterful coach, to understand that our prospects are often borrowing our confidence in the beginning, something that they don't have while they build their own. And so if we're showing up and we're not being, bold, we're not making confident offers, and it doesn't mean that it has to be something so big and over the top, but that we're confidently speaking to what we know about what we've learned about our journeys, right? And the lessons that we've learned. If we're not speaking those things out confidently and letting people know, hey, I can help you with this thing, they're not going to resonate with us. We're not going to have any kind of attraction, because they're looking for confidence.
They're missing it, which is why they want the support in the area that they're wanting the support in. So how do you get confidence? I think the way most people are looking to get confidence is wrong, because I think most of us think we are confident when we know we won't fail. And that causes us to really be in a place of avoidance. We're trying to avoid not being able to answer a question. We're trying to avoid using a tool that doesn't work out the way exactly that we want it to, et cetera. And that kind of avoidance-based confidence is when we're searching for confidence that means we're going to avoid failure. That's an extremely shallow confidence. And anytime that a human is involved, it's not even possible. So you're not even going to get it. But when you're searching for that level of confidence, most people won't feel that confidence. The way you actually get confidence is to take action. And it's even better when you don't think you're ready to take action. You take action and you do something, and then it either works or it doesn't. And it's actually better when it doesn't work, because, and I say doesn't work according to our preconditioned and pre-prepared expectations. So we have these expectations. We follow a coaching process. Let's say it doesn't go as planned, and the client still gets a really good outcome. And then we do it again, and same thing happens. It's actually very rare that a coaching conversation goes the way that we thought it was going to go. We need that to happen for us to go, oh, wow, I actually have confidence in these tools, or I have confidence in me as the coach, or I have confidence in the process or the idea of transformation. And the thing that I was afraid of doing, which is why I wanted to avoid the failure in the first place, didn't happen when I took action. So if you think about the way that fear works by convincing us that if we try something catastrophic might happen. Something really bad is going to happen if we take action. The way that we build our confidence is take action when we think that, and then recognize that the catastrophe didn't happen. So a key element here is we got to take action when we think that something bad might happen, but we take action anyway. That's the quickest way to increase our confidence, which is counter-intellectual, because that means it sounds like we're saying in order to be confident, you got to do things before you're ready. And yeah, it's exactly what we're saying. You got to do things before you think you'll be able to avoid all failure. And that's actually the quicker way to build confidence. So just around the corner from confidence is the second element here, which is certainty. Mastery level certainty is, it's hard to define, because it's more of a feeling, and it's more of an energy, and it's more of a knowing. And it's like a rooted knowing that you got this, whatever that is, whatever this is. If it's the journey to help somebody, or if it's the clarity on what somebody actually needs, or your ability, there's a certainty that is much more intangible and energetic and felt by people. My experience is that most people have identified confidence as the most important thing, especially in coaching, but they don't realize that people buy certainty more than they buy confidence, because confidence is more intellectual in nature and it's more on the doing side. It's important, but there's a certainty that feels foundationally comforting to people.
Ooh.
And we've all, right, that phrase, we've all experienced somebody where we've had the judgment, like they just know their stuff, or they're bold. Like I would follow them somewhere. I don't even know what they do, but there's an air about them. That's certainty. And certainty can really only be created, right? We talked about confidence only being created by doing things and proving that the thing you're afraid of didn't happen. Certainty can really only develop through falling down, really, which is kind of interesting as it's hitting me now. Like, in order to have certainty, you have to have gone through the challenges of failure and missed expectations and gotten back up. And the certainty is actually found in your ability to handle whatever comes up, your ability to handle whatever comes up in a coaching conversation, your ability to handle whatever detours a client might take you through, your ability as a client, as I didn't intentionally say client, but we talk all the time how we got to coach like we're clients, and the more that we are clients, the better coaches we are. So the certainty that you as the coach, you as the facilitator, you can hold the space, you can ask the questions, but all of that has to happen or is developed through the process of turbulence. Really, it's through the process of not knowing what's going to happen, see it happen and go, oh, it turned out well. And that's what gives us this foundational feeling that we're good. Like, no matter where this goes, we're good. And to your point earlier, if the clients are missing confidence, then they're also missing this idea that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. And
similar to confidence, the only way that you're going to get certainty is by doing a lot of the work. You know, you've got to be in the ocean, so to speak, so that you can not only get the evidence as you're practicing or you're studying, but you're watching other people do demos and you're listening to other conversations that are deepening your certainty in the work itself. I actually think that certainty is way more important than confidence, and it's more important than certification. I think a lot of people are searching for certification because that's more in line with confidence. That's an intellectual path to achieve something, and you prove competency by passing a test and getting a certification. But people don't buy certifications, they buy certainty. So in the mastery level dissection of coaching, what you'll get, what we say is you actually get certaintification, not a certification, but certainty inside of the certification. And when you have both of those things combined, that's when people will really feel something different than what they're feeling internally with themselves or with a lot of other people that are offering them programs and so forth. And many of you know we have an online certaintification program called BCC, and we'll put a card and a link in the description if that's something that you want to check out. We actually offer the first module for free to see if it's a good fit for you. So what do you got to say about certainty?
I loved what you said about like the feeling. What did you call it? Some kind of blanket. It feels good, right? So
I think I said foundational comfort, maybe, or foundational.
Yeah.
Something.
I thought of it like a blanket, clearly. Like it just feels like it feels good. We feel good in the presence of that certainty. What occurred to me when you were just talking is that certainty is like embodied confidence, right?
Yeah.
It's the be, where confidence is the doing. This is the being
Yep.
of confidence. It's that energy. And this is, the things that you can do here, right, is getting, doing your own personal work, getting in the room. What was critical for me was about actually getting outside of myself and seeing what was really possible, right? Like you were speaking to, Sean, really seeing what transformation could do, not only in my own life, but in so many other people's lives. And that like knowingness of like, holy cow, this really truly can, this can work. That knowingness gets inside of you, and that's undeniable. It's not something that you can fake or pretend, because other people can feel this. This is a deep energetic element.
Yeah, undeniable is a great word to use for the experience of certainty, both internal when we're talking about ourselves and external when we're either experiencing it or not with somebody else. And it is quite possible that somebody is very confident but not certain, because they don't have that embodied element to it, like you said. All right, element number 3 here is clarity. Why don't you start on this one, Michelle, and I'll jump in.
Yeah. So a mastery level coach, it just has clarity on not only the work that they do, but also the journey of transformation. I think we're clear on what our goals are. We're clear on who it is that we're serving. We're clear on the path that we're, at least at a high level, that we're guiding them on. Like we know how to get them from where they are to where it is that they want to be. And this is something that is learned through experience, right? We have to, at the very beginning of our journey, have enough of this clarity to be able to get, to start taking action, right? To get in motion, to start working with people. And then as we coach people, we might get more clarity on the path. We might refine some of the steps a little bit. We might refine our goals. We might shift our seeker. Like I know you and I both have multiple times along our journeys. The clarity comes like confidence in motion. And it's found looking backwards, as opposed to something that we can predict while we're not moving and staying put. This is, for my journey, this is the result of a lot of action, a lot of coaching, a lot of phone calls, a lot of trying things, and then clarity ended up actually being the result of the efforts.
Yeah, I think that's a really important highlight, an important distinction that again varies from the way I think a lot of us think and or we're taught. We think clarity is the requirement to action, and I'm obviously of the same opinion that you are, that clarity is the result of action. We think that we need to know exactly where we're going to go in order to go. And in reality, we just got to take a lot of messy action a lot of times. And it might feel scary because we don't have the clarity, because we think that we need the clarity, but clarity happens over time. I think what is interesting is that people are very clear in what they want to avoid. So we have a lot of clarity that we don't want to ask somebody something and they say no to us. We want to avoid rejection. We want to avoid the loss of money or the loss of approval or the loss of the things that we're trying to hoard, or the things that we're desperately trying to seek in an overcompensating kind of way. So we're really clear in what we don't want, but we're not clear in what we do want. And most of the time it's because what you just said, we don't take enough action for what we want to clarify itself. I think action is the ingredient that causes things to clarify themselves, whether we're talking about clarity on a niche. And it's important that you give yourself permission to change your mind when new information comes out. So when we help people get clear on what their target market is, what their niche client is, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to stay that way forever. It might not be that way for the next week. If you take enough action and it gets revealed that that's actually not your niche market, then go ahead and change. You have to take enough action and get enough evidence based on feedback from the action that you take before you change course. But there's nothing wrong with changing course. And that's a little aggressive to say it might happen next week, but you just have to give yourself permission to collect evidence and clarify along the way. And that's actually the best way for the true clarity that we're wanting and that we're needing to reveal itself. It reveals itself through and after action. So we can say that clarity is produced by unclear action, and then adjusting to the feedback, and it reveals itself. Number 4 is a word that I don't think a whole lot of people are seeking. Like I don't hear it a lot in what we're searching for when we're looking forward, but it's something that a lot of people recognize is important when they assess their journey or when they're looking backwards, and that's connection. And we can feel connected to ourselves, like our rooted person, our body, our minds, our spirit. We can feel connected to something much bigger than us, God, the universe, humanity all around us. We can feel connected to feelings. We can feel connected to other people's journeys. We can feel connected to the certainty and the confidence that we've been talking about. When we're showing up to help people change their lives, connection is much more important than if we're just going to sell information to somebody or we're going to sell some commodity or some widget. You don't need to feel connection to sell somebody a mop, right? You just need to convince them that your mop is going to help them clean their floors because that's the need that they have. But when you're talking about changing somebody's life, there's got to be connection there, not only for you as the coach, but help the other people feel the connection also. If there's not a connection, they probably will never hire you as a coach in the first place, because they need to feel connected to your story. They need to know that you're connected to their story. There's got to be reciprocal connection most of the time for a human to ask another human, especially if they're hiring that person and paying money, to help them change their life. So connection is like this constant cyclical fuel or energy that is looping around us. And we can feel it internally. We can feel it externally. We can feel like it's connected above, connected below, connected all around. And that 5-dimensional sort of connection is so powerful. Again, it's like certainty, where it's not an intellectual thing where you can just check the box like, oh, okay, I did this, I wore my blue shirt, and therefore I have connection. You know, it's more of an emotional energy that you feel and other people will feel as a result of it.
So what would you say then would be, how could somebody do this? I know you mentioned the 5-dimensional connection. Is that something you'd recommend?
Pepto-Bismol. I thought we already covered that
earlier. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's how you feel the connection. Yeah, that's a good question. And it's not easy to give a really clear path on something that's intangible like this. Connection, I believe, so I'm glad you asked the clarifying there question. I believe that connection is already existent. I believe that we are messing it up. So we are blocking the connection that already exists between ourselves and our bodies, ourselves and the people around. I think we already have an inherent connection to all the things that I've said, but most of us aren't accessing that connection because we've got maybe traumas in the past. That could be why we're not connected to our body. Maybe we were punished for having desires in the past, so we might not be connected to our intuition or to our heart and to what we want. We might have been, I want to say punished again. I guess to some degree it's punished, like, you know, in a public speaking sense. And so we're afraid of the connection that we naturally have with other humans because once upon a time that was scary to us. So connection is really more about allowing something that's already there. And that is about putting down the disconnectors that we have. So that could be the form of limiting beliefs. It could be any kind of trauma work. You got to heal certain things. That could be doing the things that you're afraid of and recognizing that you didn't die, and then experiencing the connection with the audience. Like, one of the reasons that a lot of people don't have connection with other people is because the other people are the enemies in the story, right? If you're afraid of other people not approving of you, they're the enemy. They're the scary ones. So it's going to be really difficult to have connection with the enemy, connection with the bad guy. But if you're afraid of other people not liking you, well, they're the bad guy in the story that you're telling yourself. So when we shift and we have the internal connection and do the feedback work that you can do, then the scary people stop being scary, and you can actually feel the connection that already was there until we removed it. So in the sense that we're talking about connection, that's really something that you notice and give yourself permission to feel into, rather than anything that we have to construct.
I love that. Drop the protection. Yeah. That's powerful.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because we can't be in protection mode and connection mode at the same time. So while we are protecting, we cannot be connecting.
Yeah.
And the way to allow the connection is to drop the need for protection. And it takes a little bit of faith, because that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially to the intellectual mind and the piece of us that have been protecting ourselves from things, our whole lives, to all of a sudden say, hey, it's okay, drop the protection. But that is the answer.
Absolutely. And just like each of these things have been so far, that's the thing that a lot of your clients are going to be wanting as well, right? They're probably showing up inside of their protection. And so if you show up protected as well, now you're just going to completely be bouncing off of each other. And this is an area where we, as the coach, as the leader, we need to go first.
I just got a visual of two people in those big sumo wrestling outfits.
Yeah.
Right, where you can barely move your arms and just bumping into each other. Yeah.
Hire me. Hire me. I'm like on my back with like my little legs and arms in the air.
Hire me. That's funny.
It's accurate, right? I'm sure you can't feel anything in those big things, right?
You're protected. Yeah. Nobody can get to you in there.
And nobody can get to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Whew.
All right. Tell us about number 5.
Number 5. Oh, this is so important. I love this one. This element of mastery.
Number 5. Well, that's an old callback. If any of you have been watching the videos on this channel from years ago.
Yes. Please let us know if you recognize, because
Once upon a time.
Can't unsee it.
Mambo number 5. All right.
Isn't that also the video where you didn't know how to turn your lights on?
That doesn't.
I think it's the same. Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think it's the same one. It's number 5 is community. Man, a mastery level coach knows that there is no prize, there is no gold star, there is no winning at walking this journey alone. And the coaches that I know that are filled with mastery are the ones that have surrounded themselves with a powerful reciprocal support team. And I mean, like, surrounded themselves. I used to think that it was all about me trying to do this. Like, there was truly some kind of prize, like I was going to win if I did it all by myself and I didn't ask anybody for any kind of help at all. And, Sean, one of the things I recognize is that was a pretty, I didn't like how it made me feel toward my clients who were seeking support when I had such a whatever, like, it's weak to need support attitude. And then here I am trying to get people to hire me to support them while I'm holding on to the belief that need is weak. That didn't sit well with me when I recognized I was doing that. It wasn't conscious, but it was happening. I don't know anybody who does this journey inside of coaching or really in entrepreneurship in general who doesn't have support. And we teach in our program that there are 5 elements of a really, really powerful support team. Number 1 is a private coach, right? Somebody who's working with you one-on-one on whatever your stuff is, right? Your limiting beliefs, trauma, mindset. It could also be, strategy, scaling inside of your business, program and product development, but somebody that you're working with one-on-one. The second one is online and or live events, being in person, like we were talking about in the element of certainty, being in the rooms where you're a part of these conversations, where you're with people who are like-minded, where you're studying transformation, personal development, or whatever your specific niche is, and you're seeing and experiencing that being done with other people. Small group masterminds. I think support and community is one of the things that we don't recognize as valuable looking forward. But anybody, that you said this already, anybody looking back will turn around and say, oh, dang, this is the thing that really was critical in my success. So small group masterminds where you just have people that are either in a similar industry or in different industries who can collaborate together and offer different perspectives and ideas. Accountability partnerships is number 4. Having somebody that can help you hold yourself accountable, right? But having that other person that you can check in with, somebody that you're letting them know what your goals are and that you're sharing your progress and you're celebrating your wins and you're tracking things. And I know a lot of people resist this. I know I did for a long time, but that's the closest thing that I know to any kind of secret sauce to success is accountability. And then the last one is mentorship. And that means having somebody who is in your industry-ish, right? Who's offering just, whether you meet once a month or once every few months, whether it's a phone call or in person, but somebody that you can just kind of share stories and ideas and get their perspective on things because they've been maybe in the industry or doing the work that you're doing a little bit longer than you have. And what I know is that in my journey, when I recognized where I wanted to be, got over myself enough to recognize that the smartest, most successful people had like a deep support team, I started looking at like, okay, who do I want to be around? I want to learn to think like them. I want to learn what it is that they know. And I almost took on like was like back in the day, we didn't go to school, and this is not dissing knowledge, but we didn't go to school to study things. We like hung out with the person who was doing the thing that we wanted to do, right? So like if I wanted to learn how to, birth babies, I hung out with the people in the community that's what they did. And I learned by watching, I learned by being in their presence. And so the support, and this is having that community is a critical element of mastery.
Yeah, well said. I don't have anything to add to that. I just want to highlight that this is the most important, in my experience, piece that people will tell you they needed in their journey. They'll look back and go, it's the support. It's somebody to reach out to when things weren't going well. It's somebody to see into my blind spot when I couldn't find my own next step. And that support is so much more valuable than most people think when they think about what they need going forward. The 6th element here is creation. So building a business itself is a creation endeavor. I think a lot of people don't recognize that. And the reason I say that is a lot of people are looking for the scientific approach to building a business. They're looking for the mathematical approach. If I do this, I'll get this. And this linear approach. And business is not linear like that. It's not mathematical. There are components that are scientific or mathematical in nature. But if you think about the building of a business, you're creating something, you're creating a community, you're creating a product, you're creating connection, you're creating a relationship, you're creating a conversation, you're creating a platform. There's all kinds of things you're actually creating. Some of them tangible, some of them intangible. But if you're going to build something that doesn't currently exist, that's creation. And people don't recognize, I think, how important the element of creation and understanding creation is in building a business. And then if you throw on top of that, coaching is also creation. Coaching is not a mathematical process, not transformational coaching. You're trying to ask questions, or you are asking questions that are going to illuminate all kinds of things that the client is going to say, and you're going to go all over the place. A transformational conversation with somebody is an exercise of creativity. We're being flexible. We're flowing with whatever's up in the space, whatever people are actually saying. So if you understand that building a coaching business is the creation of something that's built upon creation, meaning the business building is creation and the product is also creation. One of the worst things you can do is demand scientific guarantees. When you've got two elements of creation, when they're put on top of each other like that, they become exponential. You're now not just dealing with two elements of creation. It's like you're dealing with 7 times creation, because you're creating on top of creating. And there is a place for linear thinking. There is a place, and that's usually in the marketing, I would say. You try something and it either creates the expectations that you wanted or it doesn't. And then you adjust and you try something different, and then you adjust and you try something different. That's actually the scientific method. Literally, that's what it is. You do something, you see what happens, and then you adjust according to what happened. That process is appropriate for marketing and testing and seeing people's reactions to the things that you create and then the things that you put out there. But everything else is creativity. And the more that you understand creativity and the more that you give yourself permission to be creative and the more that you position your creativity in the world as the thing that you're actually offering people, the better it's going to be. And it's actually going to feel more comfortable to you for most of you, which might not make immediate sense because we seek intellectual comfort in the scientific approach. We seek intellectual comfort thinking, if I do this, I'm guaranteed going to achieve that or going to receive that. And that's actually not what's available, but more of us find more comfort in the element of and the essence of creativity. It's just that we've been programmed out of it. So we demand intellectual comfort when actually what we're seeking and what feels better to us is creative comfort.
Yeah. I love that. I was thinking of children when you were sharing that, right? Like there's just that natural state of just playing, of building with whatever, with sand, with Legos, right? I know, or Pepto-Bismol, since there are
Pepto-Bismol.
Of just being like messy or finger painting or blocks or dancing or trying on clothes and wearing mismatching things and feeling like a princess, or taking your mom's makeup and drawing it all over your face because you're just playing, and there's a freedom in that, right? It's less restrictive and feeling like I have to fit me into this. It's, for me, it was like permission to just be messy. And I don't mean like inconsiderate or sloppy, like in a careless way, but messy in like I'm going to play with this and I'm going to see what happens. And so I started painting, and I'm not good at it at all. And it's one of the reasons why I stopped when I was little, because my mom is an artist and I thought as a kid I had to be as good as her. And I was trying this thing the other day, and it looked really good, but then I did one too many strokes, like it looked good. And then I did one more thing that just made everything went from being colorful to just this gray, muddy color. And I stopped for a moment because there was part of me that I was like, I'm going to throw it in the trash, right? Like I'm going to start over. But my commitment in this painting journey that I'm taking is I'm not throwing out anything. So I'm just going to allow myself to say, okay, so this is what I have now. What do I want to create from here? Right? What can I add to this? What can I shift? How can I pivot? The original way, right, didn't turn out the way that I expected it to. So what's something new that I can add in? And it's become this more playful, experiment is the word that comes to mind for me. And that's so important in this work that we do.
Yeah, one of the main components of creation when it comes to value, meaning what is it that creates, or what is it that allows us to create value, is evolution. Your creations need to evolve. And the only way that evolution can happen is if you do some things, and then it kind of takes on a life of its own, and you learn what colors not to mix with other colors. And you actually are building more creative muscles the more that you create. And the key component here, I think, that we need to get rid of is the judgment inside of the creation. So when you are creating and judging at the same time, you're not creating. You're just judging, and you're technically maybe creating something, but you're creating something according to your judgments, either that it's good or not, or how people will react to it. And that's not true creation. True creation has to happen just by, as you said, just kind of just playing with stuff and seeing what happens. And we all have that ability, but most people don't have the permission. Like you said a moment ago, that you had to give yourself permission to be messy. So I just wanted to highlight that. So you didn't need anybody to teach you how to be messy, because you're already good at that. You just needed permission to be messy, just so I can be clear and highlight that. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, perfect. And we're all messy to some degree, according to whatever our filters are of judgment, right? And the permission to just be, and the permission to create and let it evolve. It's not an easy one for people. It's not like a switch you just turn on. It takes practice. I mean, that's one of the themes that you'll hear in just about everything that we say, not just on this list, but in so many of the other videos. Implementation is really the only way that this stuff can get in motion and get some momentum. This conversation is so huge. And at the time that we are filming this, we are planning a course called Entrepreneurial School for Coaches. We're calling it E-School for Coaches. And it's really about the entrepreneurial muscles attached to creativity. Like I said, business creation on top of product that's creative it's a slippery slope for a lot of people. And I think one of the main reasons that most coaches don't succeed is because they never become an entrepreneur in their identity, and or never learn from an implementation standpoint, have that embodied confidence, certainty, all the things we've been talking about as it applies to entrepreneurship. So they never become a creator in mind and spirit and embodied knowing of what creation is and who they are as a creator. So if you learn the rules of the entrepreneurial game, but you are not an entrepreneur in your thinking, then you'll be able to sabotage the rules all day long. And this is an element that I think a lot of people are not focusing on, because we're constantly looking for the rules and the tools and the tactics and, all the things that we're trying to avoid and guarantees and all that. But the bottom line is most coaches are not entrepreneurs in their thinking, in their identity, and that's why they fail at the entrepreneurial game. So depending on when you're watching this video, check the link down below, and maybe it's something that we're about to start, or we've already started, or you can get on the interest list for the next time we run this. But I really think it's going to be a missing component for most people who are not getting the success that they want in their business. Mm-hmm. And finally, the seventh bullet here is, or the seventh element is conviction. And conviction is similar to commitment or discipline in the way that a lot of us use those two words. But conviction is a deeper resolve. It's when you're willing to just do whatever it takes, because not doing whatever it takes is not okay with you. And we all have things in our lives that we've been convicted around, where no matter what challenge came about, obstacle, distraction, we still stayed the course, we stayed focused, and we got something done. It could have been, the birth of a child. It could have been getting a degree. It could have been getting across the street in a scary situation. It could have been the creating of something, writing a book or whatever it was. So we all have the ability to be convicted. Most of us are just not accessing that ability for whatever reason because of all the other things that make us human. But conviction is also a product of doing all these things that we're talking about, because part of being convicted in something is by being in that thing. You're convicted in a process when you're in that process. And then you realize all the things we're talking about and you feel depths of connection, or you feel more confidence and certainty. And then all of that starts to swirl around your conviction. And I think a lot of people don't succeed in their goals, specifically in the coaching industry, but this goes for almost any goals that people have. I think most people don't succeed in their goals because they never get to the point where they can't not do it. And I know that's a double negative. So they never get to the point where they've decided there's no way I'm not doing this. Because the human who has gotten to that unstoppable, convicted place truly can't be stopped unless there's like some kind of physical reason that somebody can't do something, which is rare, not what we're usually dealing with when it comes to building a coaching business. It's that people haven't reached that level of conviction. Until we reach the level of conviction, we have some kind of conditional commitment. So we're committed unless something happens. We're committed unless it costs money, unless it's going to take time, unless it's uncomfortable, unless I have to do the things that I don't think I should have to do. We have all these conditions that for most of us are not going to be met. And for the most part, the conditions that we have are usually not even relevant to the journey of building a business, meaning we're convicted or we're conditionally committed to things that don't belong on this journey, or we're conditionally committed to avoid certain things that are unavoidable on this journey. Like people are conditionally committed around comfort. So fully committed unless it's uncomfortable. Well, there's no such thing as growing without discomfort. So a lot of the conditions that we have around our commitment actually knock us out of the game, because the conditions themselves are impossible, either impossible to attain or impossible to avoid. And yet that's fueling what we allow ourselves to be committed to. So hitting that place of conviction based on action, based on certainty, based on connection, based on all of these elements is what's going to fuel you to get back up when something knocks you down. And something will knock you down on this journey. If it doesn't knock you down, you're probably not moving. You're probably not taking action. If you're not doubting yourself, if you're not getting knocked down, if you're not quote unquote failing, I put it in quotes because that's all a function of what our expectations are and what we define failure as. But if you're not experiencing those things, then you're just simply not taking action. And it's part of the process of getting more and more convicted, especially in this work. And we did a whole video on this about how to be a successful coach and what are some of the milestones you can pay attention to and kind of pace yourself on the way to become a successful coach. So we'll put a card there. So when you hit committed or convicted rather, when you hit that level of convicted commitment, then you're just convicted no matter what. You're convicted whatever it takes. You're convicted in your commitment until you get the thing that you want. There are no conditions, especially not conditions based on discomfort, that are going to knock you out of the game, because your conviction overpowers the conditions for comfort. And when you do all these things, you're actually going to get, well, we'll add an eighth bullet here. You're actually going to get what everybody's wanting in the coaching business, which is clients. So we'll dive into that, but whatever you want to add to conviction, go ahead.
It's the commitment. I love what you said. It's that convicted commitment. It's the conviction to you as the person. It's your conviction to the thing, transformation, not the conviction to the path, not the conviction to the exact details about, how it's going to work out, or the precise steps that it's going to be that you're going to travel. It's not about being convicted to that. Those are the things that can evolve through action, right? Get more clarity as we take those steps, as we continue in the creation. But the conviction for me, it's conviction about what's possible, right? When I felt that for myself personally, then it became people got to know that people don't even know. I didn't know. I spent most of my life not knowing that this was even possible. And so it's the conviction to this, whatever that is for you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that conviction around possibility is one of the driving forces that successful coaches have, and people that are successful outside of the coaching industry. It's just the possibility of whatever it is that their mission is. And then this 8th one is clients. And there's so many things to potentially talk about when it comes to clients, selling, messaging, marketing, the energy inside of a coaching consultation, what to say, all that stuff. And we got a ton of videos on that. So we're not going to break down all of that because, we'd be here another 9 hours at least, but we'll put a card or we'll link something to where you can look at some of those videos and playlists. But what I do want to say in the context of this is that, and this might sound really blunt and maybe even harsh, but masterful coaches have clients. And I'm not saying that once you get a client, you then become a masterful coach as though getting a client is the only target. And I think one of the disservices that the coaching industry has convinced people of is that success as a coach is getting clients. That causes us to only focus on getting clients. So I'm not saying that message, that if you have a client, you're a masterful coach, and if you don't, you're not. What I'm saying is masterful coaches have clients. And the reason that masterful coaches have clients is because they can't not have clients. If you're convicted and you're on social media, or you're doing webinars, or you're out in the community and you're finding people that need the thing that you have, and you have the certainty, and your message is evolving because you're continually out there talking about it, and you've got confidence in the methods, and you've done a lot of coaching practice and demos, and you've seen the possibility, you will have clients, because the masterful magnet is a magnet that people are attracted to. Now, that doesn't mean that overnight you're going to have clients, but somebody who speaks with mastery in their level of competency is going to be attractive to anybody who's interested in that lesson that they're talking about. So my message to you is, if you don't have clients, especially if you have 0 clients, don't study techniques to get clients. Increase your mastery, increase your value. And then you can do a lot of those same tools that you might be using, but you're going to be doing them more powerfully, because you're going to be more masterful in your messaging. You're going to be more masterful in your energy. So that's one of the ways that we can test and measure more than test, whether we are masterful in our essence. Because when we are masterful in our essence, there will be clients eventually, and it won't take all that long. If there's a mastery in the message that's going out, there's going to be an attraction of the clients that want that mastery. But way too many coaches are just trying to shortcut their way to getting clients, and they're not focusing enough on mastery. So when it comes to the mastery conversation, everything we're talking about is individual in nature. Your confidence is individual in nature. Your certainty is individual. Your level of connections, individual. We all need individual. That's why we talk about private coaching as part of your support system. That's why we talk about mastermind groups, why we talk about getting you as a human support, because you are the most important ingredient in your journey. So if any of this is something that you want support on, whether it's the internal game, the external game, strategy, skills, any of the things that we talked about, or anything else at all in this conversation, then register. There's a link in the description for a free one-on-one coaching consultation where one of our certified coaches will get on the line with you and help you in whatever area you want to help. You want help in, whether it's strategy for next steps or what niche you should get or whatever. And, of course, if there's more support that we can offer you in various programs that we have, we'll let you know about that. And we have memberships here on the channel. So take a look at any of those membership levels and see if that's going to be an important piece to help you in your journey as well. If you like this video, take a look at that video right there. We're going to talk about how to create a meaningful and marketable message. You see a bunch of other people do, and then they want it to work because they've seen that process work with other people. So I hope the marketing process will work with me. And what they just simply don't understand